debut as a Laker checked a lot of boxes. A game-high 37 points, but just 1 assist and no W. They've gone back to the drawing board and face as much of a must-win as you can get in a Game 2. No one was more critical of his play in Game 1 than Austin Reeves. He did most of his damage in the third quarter. He'll look to get rolling early. J.J. Redick has probably broken down the video from Game 1 enough times to have made some adjustments. Will that be enough? You can't win a best-of-7 series after Game 1, but Minnesota stole home court. The Lakers have some work to do, and it starts by defending Crypto.com Arena. Game 2 is coming up here on Spectrum Sportsnet at 7 o'clock. Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet Lakers, brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. I'm Chris McGee, the Hall of Famer, Big Game James Worthy. We got Ali Brez and Big Shot back in the studio. Big Game, we spent a lot of the last couple of months talking about the Lakers fighting for home court advantage, and here we are in a Game 2, and it sure feels like a must-win.
It's amazing how you can earn something by playing hard for it, and then in a second it could be taken away from you, and that's what happened in Game 1. So we arrive at Game 2 with a must-win before going on the road. This is what the playoffs is all about. It's really exciting. It's meeting force with force. Game 1, Minnesota seemed to have a little bit more force. So the Lakers have to, reconcile with that tonight in Game 2, and they have to do it early, and they have to do it for 4 quarters.
Listen, they've been down this road before. Everyone has in the NBA playoffs. It's just one game. I want to show you this. The Lakers have actually lost Game 1 of a best-of-7 series, and they have the most wins all time. They've come back and won 15 times. You have been a part of that. The Boston Celtics, 14, Dallas 10, Miami 8, Milwaukee 8. James, what's the mindset after losing a Game 1? The pressure obviously moves to the Lakers.
Well, you don't get to the 3rd seed by, not having, consistent play, having a meeting of the minds. The Lakers have to get back to playing the way they know they can play. And it starts with defense. You really have to be physical. This is the difference between regular season and the playoffs. You're stuck with one team in the playoffs for 7 games. So sometimes it's just who is going to play hard, who's going to, grind it for 4 quarters, who's going to get the loose balls, who's going to have that mentality to play physical and meet force with force. The Lakers have to come out. They got to defend. They got to have more assists than they had in Game 1. They only had 15 assists. Luka only had 1. They gave up a lot of uncontested threes, and they really have to close that gap. But it starts with the defense, Gator. They got to, defend, rebound, and then, get their transition game going and, get some good shots, get more people involved on the offensive end.
Big Game, I know you've been down in a series before, and over those few days, you read the newspapers, or nowadays it's on social media, and you hear the word physicality and sense of urgency and intensity, and Minnesota dominated in those aspects in Game 1. Did that surprise you a little bit, and how do they change that?
Well, it didn't surprise me. What surprised me is that, the Lakers have been one of the best defensive teams in the second part of the season. They've been known to play physical, even though they play like a small ball sometimes. But, they didn't bring that. Sometimes, time off, you lose some of that intensity. That week off, it's hard to conjure that up. I don't have any doubt that they're going to bring it tonight because I know they can. They know they can. It's just a matter of, bringing it to the court and sustaining it. And everyone, including the bench, has to be a big part of, what they do on the court.
You know how everyone knows it's a big game?
What's up?
Because we're here.
We are here.
We're here on the floor.
We are here on the floor, Gator.
We're not leaving without a W.
We're not leaving. and if things don't go right the first half, I'm staying for the second half.
Let's get you across the hall to the Lakers reporter, Mike Trudell, who is standing by patiently with more. Michael, good to see you.
What's happening, guys? Always great to have you down at the arena. You think about Game 1 and all just basically how quickly things got out of hand for the Lakers. They played excellent in the first quarter, up by 7, and then Minnesota goes on a big run. And you almost wonder if the Lakers weren't able to make the types of adjustments that they might because the score was so wide. And therefore, what are those adjustments going to be in Game 2? So I talked to J.J. Redick about that song and dance, about how he thinks about when to deploy the adjustments that they probably had an idea of before the series started. Here's J.J.
I think you certainly prepare for adjustments, and like any game, you're reading it in real time based on how they're guarding different actions, what they're trying to attack, etc. So yeah, I mean, that's sort of the micro version, and then the macro version is game to game in a series, and we're in constant dialogue about stuff.
JJ, one of the luxuries you guys have is you have a player in LeBron James who's done this for over 2 decades. What's his leadership been like the last 48 hours as you guys were in film and as you guys went through that practice yesterday?
His leadership has been terrific. He has been vocal in all of the film sessions, meetings, our court work, when we're walking through stuff, our defensive breakdown stuff. And I think yesterday was a great day for him. We did more live than we've done in months, and it was, he got himself going and moved really well.
What does Jackson Hayes ideally have to do tonight to get more minutes than he had in Game 1?
A lot of it is how much. So Gobert played half the game, and some of that was a little bit of foul trouble. Some of that was their Reed-Randall combination played really well. That lineup played really well, and that's going to be a switching lineup for us. So again, it's just the matchup, and it's how much Gobert plays. How much do we want to play our laser lineup versus Gobert? How much do we want to have a lob threat versus Gobert? So that's just the calculus of that.
JJ, Vando had a pretty big impact in that third quarter run where you guys closed 17-6, just pressuring, wreaking havoc defensively. How much of that do you feel like is sustainable, that he can kind of come in and just do that in kind of a similar role?
Yeah, I think it is sustainable, and we'll certainly look as the series goes on for opportunities to play him with Jackson, with Gobert on the floor, and allow him to sort of play more perimeter based, and take a primary matchup versus being in a switching group.
Yeah, Geeter, so one thing that you notice is thinking back to Game 1, JJ a little bit more, I don't want to say relaxed, but just more typical as to how he would usually be before a game. In this one, Game 1, you could totally understand his first playoff game was really ramped up. And that's part of the thing that the players love about him. He's a basketball sicko. He's always ready to go. But maybe this portends well for the team that, JJ here is now like, okay, here's what the adjustments are. We had a practice for offense. We had a practice for defense and what we want to do in this one. And he knows the players are going to play better and harder. So I thought that was an interesting sign from JJ before Game 2 here.
All right, Mike, great stuff as usual. Appreciate it. We'll be looking for you soon, my friend. Let's get it done. All right.